29, my futon, fold it up and smoke it. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically, it's
we got this.
So,
revolutionary.
Frosty hand. Muhammad is the fame's name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors' jealousy.
because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
Shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say.
Grand Risings, and welcome back to another episode of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal. We're excited to have you join us on this journey of thoughtful discourse and community engagement. The Urban Conservative is proudly sponsored by the Leon Block Network, an organization committed to promoting transparency, truth, and accountability in our media landscape. Here at the Urban Conservative, our mission remains steadfast to bring you the latest news directly from the streets, addressing critical topics such as gun violence, crime, politics, and perhaps most importantly, exploring solutions to the profound challenges our communities face. As we embark on this third season, the focus is clear. It's time to actively contribute to the transformation of our communities for the better. How can we achieve this? The answer lies in a multifaceted approach that starts with reconnecting with our core family values. Strengthening our sense of community is paramount, fostering bonds that transcend the barriers that often divide us. Moreover, it involves embracing our foundational roots, recognizing the historical and cultural threads that weave through the fabric of our society. In this season, we are calling for more than words. We seek action. It's a plea to move beyond mere rhetoric and engage in tangible, impactful initiatives that contribute to positive change. The time for empty words has passed. Now more than ever, we need to put our convictions into action. Together, united by a common purpose, we can make a substantial and lasting difference in the well-being of our communities. So join us on this journey as we explore not only the challenges, but also the opportunities for growth and progress. Together, let's turn our shared vision for stronger, safer, and more connected communities into a reality. Thank you for being a part of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal, a platform dedicated to fostering change and making a positive impact on the world around us. Shut up and help. You know, one of the reasons why I got into this is because of George Floyd. So this morning I wanted to talk about navigating change, because the reason that we all got into this is to change, for reform in our communities, regardless if it has to do with the streets, if it has to do with policing, education, all of that. So I wanted to discuss policing this morning directly, because how do we get change or reform in a system that we can all agree on is broken? That I think that's one thing that we can all agree on, that the system is broken, regardless if people say that it's racist. We would agree that that means broken, you know, because I think that regardless of whatever side of politics you sit on, however you may see your political admirations, your political affiliations, um, we can all agree that the system is broken, because that's one reason why you got into politics, was to make change. So you would think that to make change, to fix something, that it's broken. So I believe that we all have that common ground right there, that the system is broken. Um, Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And so if we can all agree on that the system is broken, I really want to get into policing, and policing directly, because I see a lot of Black people, uh, especially activists, who are out here for police brutality, who are out here, um, saying that, the police are bad, but yet want to work with the police. See, I believed that that was possible, right? I'm going to tell you why that's not possible. Because there is no good police in a broken system. There isn't. There's no good cops in a racist system. Um, and right now the system is systemically racist. It's there's no equity, there's no equality in our system when it comes to Black Americans. But yet that's not something that I see these people out here fighting. I don't see them out here, that they would rather work with police instead of calling them out, taking pictures with politicians instead of calling them out. And that's one thing that I'll never understand is, are we getting in it? Are we getting into this for fame and for clout? Or are we getting in this to make actual change? Because I see more people taking pictures and camera opportunities than I actually see them educating, writing legislation, uh, trying to really empower and prosper the Black community. Because everything that I see is going on, there's always somebody else attached to it, right? When I look at these, like, it's Black History Month in a couple of weeks, right? 2 weeks. And the events that I've seen so far, I have not seen all Black events. I haven't seen any Black American events that are all Black American, right? Because even when I look at Rochester, they have white people and non-Black Americans. They might be African Americans, but they're not Black Americans. See, and that's not their history. That's not their, just because see, and this is one thing that I don't understand, right? Because when we talk about Black history, what are we actually talking about? When we talk about Black history, right, you would think this is America, so it would be Black American History Month, that we're talking about Black Americans that were, enslaved and later on became freed men and women, right? But I don't honestly believe in their minds that when we talk about Black history, I believe that they're talking about anybody that considers themselves Black. And that's not the way that it is, right? Because this is my thing of it is, right? How can you have people telling people the struggles of Blacks, and they can't even feel that struggle? Because I'll tell you right now that Wale, can never feel what I feel when I'm in Rochester. He can never feel it. He can never feel it. And that's that's the part that frustrates me, is because you have Black Americans that would rather, that will, because of money and because of what they can, these sellouts, these masses, people in power, because of the simple fact that they go against the grain, there goes their money, right? It's not about looking out for Black Americans. It's about how much money I can make and how much I can prosper, instead of actually bringing everybody with them. And that's one thing that really frustrates me about Black Americans, right? First of all, we don't know our history. We are bamboozled to vote a certain way, all because we're told that this one party is one way. But honestly, when you really look into it, it's the same quarter. There's no difference. You know, one side is heads, the other one is tails. You know, and we always say that, why did you vote for whatchamacallit? Oh, I just voted for the lesser of two evils, right? But when you look at the legislation, it's more directed when it comes to criminalizing Black people. The Democrats write that shit. The Democrats write that shit, right? Because they keep on. What's crazy is, y'all ever watch Charlie Brown, or, you know, seen that, I forget what it is, where they got or there's a dollar bill on a string and they snatch it away from you as soon as you try to get close to it. Every time, that's how I feel, because every time, like, I look at George Floyd, right? They told us they were going to get rid of they weren't going to be able to do that move anymore. Well, they're still able to do it, right? Then we seen with Dante Wright, they said they were going to do this and that and that. But yet now Kim Potter is training officers. She's out of prison, she's off parole, but yet she's still training officers in that same police department for the same police union that tried to protect her. That's who employs her, is the police union, right? But yet people really want to talk about, they're out here making solutions, or they're out here calling out the problem. How are you calling out the problem when you're working with the problem? And you guys aren't trying to figure out a solution. You just make the problem even more harder to deal with. You make the problem harder to deal with. Right. I was just about to say, I was about to use the Charlie Brown. Thank you, understanding. Because that's what it is. We literally, it feels like every time we get there, it gets moved away. It gets moved away, because how many times have Mayor Jacob Fry, or Governor Tim Walz, or any of our elected officials have sat there and told us something to get our vote, to get people behind them, and then it never happens. Or it does happen, but it just be all fucked up. Just like with the during COVID, the feeding our future. Look at all that bullshit. Or the PPP loans. Scamming was at an all-time high. And people actually won elections off of that. Also, they could literally have power to make Minnesota the way that they wanted it. A new Minnesota. That's literally, if you look, we've changed our state flag. We're a sanctuary state. They're doing so much other thing for new Americans, but yet won't even take care of the Minnesotans that have been here, blood, sweat, and tears for years. But yet we allow and elect people. I'm not even going to say elect, because they select them and we elect them, right? But they come, look at our leaders. Look at our elected officials, right? They're not even from here. They're not even from Minnesota. So that's why people could really care less about our history in Minnesota. They don't care about our history, because look at all the historical things that are going down because of the simple fact of these people don't understand what it means to be a Minnesotan, because they're not a Minnesotan. I've been here since May 12th, 1977, the day I was born. The hospital that I was born at is no longer here. The buildings are. I was born at St. Mary's Hospital in Minneapolis, which is now Fairview Riverside. Fairview Riverside, right? There's so many things that were in Minneapolis that people don't even understand. When you go down to Lake Street, you know, there's a Sears Tower. There actually used to be a Sears in there. All them used to be floor upon floor upon floor upon floor, right? Then across the street, you had Sonny's, you had Robert's Shoes, you had a Chinese restaurant. I think the Chinese restaurant actually still there. But it was so, and of course you got Chicago liquor. That's always been there. But Minneapolis was fluent. It definitely is nowhere what it looks like now. And it's all because of we let people that have no foundation in Minnesota take over Minnesota. And that's what's sad, because they tell us all of these things about racism, right? Oh, the system is so racist, but yet nobody tries to change it. Nobody stands up to the system. And that's why we're crazy. It even about John Thompson, who this man says that he fights the system, right? If you fight the system, sir, why don't you call out the system? You won't even fight the system fair. Okay, 96, so right after Murderapolis. So right there in the Murderapolis years. Oh. But there's a lot of things that people don't even remember. I grew up in the Sumner Projects. That's where Camo J started. That's no longer there. You have condominiums there. Everything about Minneapolis is not even the same anymore growing up. Everything just looks different because you have the people that make decisions aren't even from here. They're from Chicago. They're from Boston. They're from Atlanta, Detroit. They're not from here. And yet we let these people get rid of our history, our ancestors' struggles. You know, and I can't speak for my dad's side, but my mama's side, yeah. Because even when I go back up north to Black Duck, where my mom was raised and born and raised, it ain't the same. Yeah, I was born in May. Yeah. And it's sad to see, because I grew up, you know, the elementary school I went to was actually right down the street from 38th in Chicago. The church that I was baptized was on Park Avenue, right down the street. You know, and it saddens me because the Super America that is across the street from Cub Foods, that building, whatever it was, Holiday, I guess, whatever it is, that was a 7-Eleven. We used to go in there and get Freezies, 50-cent hot dogs. Cub Foods was still there. But but see, here's the thing of it is, though, I know what that area always has been. That area has been controlled by Bloods since I can remember, since I was a youngin'. Because if you went right down the street to that park right over there on Chicago and Franklin, right? You got the park right after the school. That motherfucker used to be cracking. That area right there used to be cracking. And now all it did is it's just moved. Just like with over north. We used to go over north and the Honeybee. Then you had Club 123. All of this stuff, man, listen, North Minneapolis is not the same. And all they have done is the crime is shifting and moving more towards the suburbs than what actually inner city. The same thing with St. Paul. St. Paul has never been this bad because you have people like Bob Fletcher, right, who can't even take care of his own home because let's bring up the fact that a lot of these people have criminal children themselves, but yet want to be out here busting criminals, but can't even bust their own criminal that lives in their home. Right. No, and you know what's crazy is, here's the thing of it is, right? Oh, we voted for it, but they just didn't tell us that it was going to be that way because they hid it. They hid it. And that's what's crazy is they hid it. And I want to show something. I took a couple of screenshots and whoops, let me get to it. How do I do that? So there's one that I want to, it's from a former officer in Minneapolis. And she talks about the PTSD, right? And I don't know if you guys can see it. See if I can bring it up a little bit larger. Damn. Oh, wait. Oh, here we go. Okay. So, whoops. So she says, I am not an advocate of law enforcement and certainly not Minneapolis. Their motto should be, we knew better, but we didn't do anything. Now, I want to see what she's talking about is, this is, damn. This is Marvin Haynes. So I was thanking her for speaking out about the system and injustice done to Marvin Haynes. And she said that I'm glad Mike Keith testified to his part in the wrongful conviction. And I said, when we know better, we do better. There is a lot of ex-Minneapolis police doing that. And that's how you get unity, because we're in this all together, regardless if it's law enforcement or community members. Now, you do have police officers that want to, that are coming out, and it's sad to see that, it took all of that, for them not to be an officer to come out and say these things. And that's what kind of frustrates me. And the other one that I wanted to show you was, okay, yeah, well, that's I want to get into that later. So, but because we literally, how can we stand up for police officers and want to work with police officers when we know that they're out here still brutalizing, they're out here still doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and their so-called brothers in blue, their sisters in blue, still protect them. And that's one thing that I'll never understand, because it doesn't matter if the FBI gets involved. It doesn't matter if the DOJ gets involved. They still do the things that they do. What police department has gotten better from having the DOJ come in? Name me one police department that has gotten better. Name me a police department that has even finished their consent decrees. You can't name one. You're not going to, Ferguson, they're still there. New Orleans, they're still there. Atlanta, they're still there. Memphis, they're still. You know what's crazy is Memphis, or wait, no, it wasn't even. Los Angeles, they've been in Los Angeles since a year after the 1994 Crime Bill Act, right? Because that's what was written in there, was consent decrees. And they've literally been there since. Literally 2 years after that was enacted, they have been in Los Angeles. And they're still no better. So you tell me how even having our own government get involved, who say they're independently and for the people, don't even do anything, when we literally know that through history, the CIA has screwed us over for years. They brought cocaine and drugs into our communities. They brought guns into our communities, right? They've taken over and bought and paid for our gangs. They literally started turf wars, but nobody wants to talk about that, right? They co-opted the Crips, the Bloods. You had the cartels coming up here, right? Because that shit was, If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Right? It makes sense to cause chaos, because how else were they going to be able to get inside of a community that was becoming independently strong? How could you wreck a community? Throw drugs into it. Cause chaos. That way you can take over the community, right? Because then you got the people who are poor and no education, looking for a handout quick as hell, right? That's how you keep it, because it's that like the fishing rod. It's Lucy with the football, and we're Charlie about to go kick, and as soon as we get there, they take it away. That's how it is. That's literally how it is. The only way that we are going to get out of this is by unifying and calling it out, right? It's going to take VTOL to call out her handlers. It's time to call out your Jewish handlers, right? Your Zionist handlers. It's time. Look at her financial campaign, her campaign financials. Look at them, and you'll see that she got money from a lot of synagogues, a lot of Jewish business owners that are nowhere over north, that are nowhere near the Fourth Ward. But because they have business interests, money talk, bullshit walk. And that's what we get. That's what we get. We literally look at all the money that they put into preventing violence. I don't see no violence being prevented, because every time it seems like something happens, violence interrupters are around, but nowhere to be found when the shit going down, especially when it's demon time. Because you literally have Metro Transit, you have the city, you have the state putting all this money in the community policing. Only thing I see is them buying buildings, because they just bought Merwin Liquor. That's what's crazy. You had a violence interruption group buy a liquor store. Buy a liquor store with taxpayer dollars. Make it make sense. That literally still blows my mind, how a nonprofit can buy a liquor store. Oh, and if he doesn't think that I don't know about the LLC and the shell companies, buddy, you dead wrong, Trahern. Pollard, you're way wrong, Trahern. And that's why I love the new laws that went into effect January 1st when it came to LLCs and ghost companies, because now you got to show all of that. So they can't hide that bullshit no more. Seamus, Bobby Joe, y'all can't hide that shit no more, because I've already, that's the whole crazy thing, man. I can't wait till I can just come out with everything that I have. I'm just working to put it all together so that it all shows out smoothly, instead of having people be confused. Because when all this paperwork comes out, and I'll show y'all how the team that I work with, I'm not even gonna call it my team, because we're a team, right? It ain't my team. We just a team that when we put all this paperwork out together, it's gonna make sense to people, and they're gonna see of how shady their so-called reverend or pastor is, right? How dirty their favorite community leader is, their favorite activist, their favorite politician, how dirty and crooked they really are. And I don't want people to be like, oh yeah, I knew about it. If you knew about it, you should have called it out. But instead you chose to look the other way and keep on taking the paper. You kept on. That's why I literally laugh at these people when they sit there talk about they're a man of God. What God do you pray to? Because we can't pray to the same God, because my God, the God that I pray to up above, doesn't like the things that you do, right? Because I walk my life according to God's footsteps, the Bible. Y'all can't out here sit there saying that the adultery, that the things that you're doing, the scamming, the lying, is godlike. That's not godlike. God lived in these truths. These people can't even live in their truths. That's why they hate me, right? Mr. Minneapolis. Oh, I mean, Mr. Maple Grove. Come on, man. These people, this shit be tripping me out. This should be tripping me out. This should be tripping me out, man. And people sit there and say that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Well, these motherfuckers out here ain't standing for nothing because they falling for anything. And I see why we get the legislation passed and things, because people don't even know the difference between prohibit and a ban. They're not the same. It's different. A ban is with exceptions, right? A prohibit is actually you're getting rid of something. They were literally just banning it with exception, right? Thank you, understanding. You are so correct, and it's sad because people don't want to be educated. They want that fast, easy. They want that good feeling now, and that's what they give us. They give us that good feeling right now. It's not about long generational. It's about that fast, instant feeling. That's what it's about. And that's what saddens me, because, and how we're so quick to jump on to the next big story, because it's about that feeling. It's about that, oh, yeah, I can. That's why right now you see Palestine and Gaza right now, so how everybody's so pumped up, because it's emotional, right? That's why people could care less about the 215 bodies found behind the Jackson, Mississippi Police Department, right? Or they could care less about James Cooper, right? I could go on. I could say names. Stephen Perkins, Eric Holmes, Jaheim McMillan. I keep on going, because we continually saying names. We continually saying names. We continually saying names, man. And we got to really think about it. We have to really think about it, because if they continually dumb us down, right? That's why when you look at it, what is the big numbers that we've seen for the past 2 months about Minnesota? That inner city kids, that minority kids of color, don't even read and do math, right, at a 3rd and 5th grade level, but yet have high school diplomas. And yet they want to make minimum wage $20 an hour. That's why, right? That's why they're doing the things that they're doing, because they want a nation that is going to be on the titty. They don't want you getting off the titty. And first of all, they could care less, because all the drugs that are coming in now, right? The Fetty, that looks like the Adderall, that looks like Ritalin, that looks like Perks, Oxys, that they can literally buy the machines off of Amazon, get it shipped to their house, put it in their basement, put it in their garage, and they got a machine that literally will pump out, anywhere between 800 to 1,000 pills an hour. All they need is the ingredients. And that's why I say, if people don't even understand what a triple beam is, stop saying you a drug dealer. If you don't know how to work a triple beam, stop saying you a drug dealer. Yeah. And then, you know what's crazy is, it's not even that. I'll tell you right now that's why I post on Facebook, but I don't interact on Facebook. And I'm going to tell you why I don't interact on Facebook, because I feel like Facebook is preschool. These are people that don't want to educate. They're quick to name call. They're quick. And Twitter's getting like that too, because you have more people from Facebook jumping onto Twitter, right? So you have the childish crowd that they get emotional, they get into their feelings, instead of looking at the bigger picture and seeing that, you're caught. I'm not a hater. I'm not hating on you. I'm not snitching on you. It's that you've been caught. You've been caught. And it's time to give it up. And there's a lot of names that I could be saying. There's a lot of names that I could be saying because, and what's crazy is a lot of them people look just like me. Same skin color, some even darker. But you couldn't tell that with the legislation they write. You couldn't tell that with the neighborhoods that they be out here sticking up for. Tell me the last time where Bobby Champion actually been over North Minneapolis when the cameras wasn't around. When you, or even Cedric Frazier. All people that came from them supposedly came from ghetto areas, right? Supposedly came from bad areas. Right. They definitely don't know. And that's what's crazy is, and that's what sickens me because I'm going to tell you right now, Rev, that when we put all this paperwork out and all these 990 forms, all of these connections, I don't want people to sit there and be like, oh, you's a hater. Because you know what's crazy? I've been calling this shit out for 2 years now. And it saddens me that I continually see the people in power still doing the things that they're doing, right? Because it saddens me that you have activists that are calling out the Minneapolis Foundation over a grant to Alpha News, but yeah, I don't see them calling out Tashira and Families Unite Against Families Against Police Brutality or Violence, because they got one from the Minneapolis Foundation. I don't see them calling out Communities Unite Against Police Brutality, who was the financial sponsor for them. I don't see them calling out CARE or even Jonathan McKellen and the Minnesota Justice Coalition, who all got $208,000 from the Minneapolis Foundation. Come on, or even Propel. I don't see people calling out that shit. I don't see people calling out Shiloh, who gets plenty money from the Minneapolis Foundation. And it's all because of Ryback, but people don't want to call that out. They don't want to call out the problems in our system. They just want to continue to complain about it and say, that's the one thing that I don't know about this red movement. I don't know about this Make America Red Again shit. Because I don't think that's any better because honestly, we're getting the same coin. We're not getting anything different. We're not getting anything different. And honestly, what is Trump? If we all come together and vote for Trump, but we're not voting differently locally in our communities, what the fuck does it matter? And excuse my language, but if we're not trying to make change in our communities locally, what does it matter who the president is? Because he only has executive power. That's it. You still need the Senate and the House. So if you're not making change in your communities locally, it doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't. And if you vote red, so we're just going to get a bunch of Matt Getzes, we're going to get a bunch of Walter Hudsons, we're going to get a bunch of MTGs, we're going to get some QAnons. That's not the type of people that we need because they don't even check themselves. Walter doesn't check the racist ass shit he says on Twitter all day because at the end of the day, his constituents love it. His constituents love it. They eat that shit up. They eat that shit up. The same thing with AK. That's why it bothers me when these so-called black people get on these apps and they're supposed to be politicians and you say you're for black people, especially the shit this goofball done come out this week saying, Walter is just a trip. I still love him because he's a black man. And at the end of the day, it's like, my brother, please wake up. I get it. You want to do the right thing, but you're not doing the right thing because all you're doing is the same thing that them people want you to do. That's it. That's it. The same thing with Lisa DeMuth. I don't even hear nothing about this woman. Nothing. And every time I see her something, it's at a fucking white ass event. And I ain't got nothing against white people. But I'm tired of black people sitting there saying that they're for black people, but y'all legislation don't be for black. Even with John Thompson, look at the bill that he got passed. Look at the one bill that he authored and got passed, and tell me it was for black people, because black people weren't written in there. It was people of color. It was people of color. So if people want to know why John Thompson don't like me, it's because I call him out. I hold people accountable. And words matter. That's the whole thing that pisses me off, because words matter. Words matter. And that's what's sad. No, you know what's crazy? I used to think that people didn't realize it, but you know what's crazy? They do. They do. And it's something that even bugs me, because there's so many connections. I think people, they at first had a problem with it, but I think you get so comfortable with the money that it just starts to numb you down. For real, because I look at some of our activists that people really respect highly. But then when you look at the connections that they have and then their history, it really makes you start to wonder, right? Because one thing of it is I look at BLM Minnesota, BLM St. Paul, BLM Twin Cities, right? All right, I'll take out BLM St. Paul because that's talking about Todd and they really don't like him, right? But let's talk about Chantel. Let's talk about Trahern Cruz, right? People who are bought and paid for. Bought and paid for. Bought and paid for. Because they don't fight for Black Americans. And I will say that even when it comes to the man that leads the reparations, Trahern Cruz, not for Black Americans. He's not even for reparations. Not even for reparations. And that's what bugs me, is you have these people out here that are trying to educate and teach, right? And not even for us. Because I want people to go back. And this is what really changed my mind, is when I was sent an interview off of CNN with an activist from Minnesota after the Jamar Clark. His name is Rashad Turner, and did a hell of an interview on CNN and called out BLM about how they wanted to separate the Black family and dumb down our kids. Called it out. And yet people don't get behind him and call him all type of different names, all because of a popularity contest. Not the fact that he's telling the truth. They don't like him because he's out here telling the truth. They're out here disliking him because of the simple fact of the truth that he's telling is going against the lies that they're spewing, the lies that they live by every day. Because BLM, NAACP doesn't care about Black Americans. They don't care about my family. They don't care about me. They don't actually care about Black Americans, because the people that lead them organizations aren't Black Americans. People that sit on them boards aren't Black Americans. And we've been, you know what's crazy is, we literally have been pimped for years. Years we've been pimped. And as long as they leave them little crumbs on the nightstand when they leave, we're okay with it. And that saddens me. That saddens me. Because we're okay with being ghetto rich and not Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Rockefeller. What Black families do you see that have generational wealth like the Rockefellers or the Astors, right? That have generational, that the whole time these families have been rich their whole lives. You can't name me one Black family in America that you can show me for at least 3 generations that their family has been millionaires, that has had generational wealth. You can't show me one. Show me 3 generations of millionaire black men. You're not going to be able to show me, because we've all came out the mud. We started in the mud, and some of us are still playing in the mud. And we think that our only option is selling out by rap, being an entertainer. No, because you know what's crazy is I see people like, Rizza Islam and other people that speak out the truth. Black men. Cat Williams. Look at how people hating on Cat Williams right now. All for speaking his truth and all of how he sees Hollywood. See, people think that, Cat was calling him out because he was hating. No, it's the simple fact that all he was saying is that people around him are people in the industry. To get success, you have to cave into your integrity, your values to make it. That's what he was literally saying. And that, yes, he himself has as well, but he will not really cave in on his values. And that's what we hear these stories all the time. All the time we hear these stories, and yet we don't say shit because it's the same thing that goes on in our community. It's because of the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers. But nobody wants to call that out. I'm going to tell you right now, if we literally called out if this fight was really wrong versus right, good versus evil, right? I'm going to tell you right now that literally 60% of the people that are out here would be behind bars because they're doing shit wrong, criminally, to get ahead. But because they're in the pockets, you have the Dewana Wits, who honestly, what's crazy, man, I'll get into that at a later date, but literally a woman who lied on a police report, right? And now she's a sheriff. You have so many officers that have done wrong and yet still police officers. We don't call it out. We don't call it out. We continually just like, hey, because you know what? At the end of the day, we might need them. But here's my thinking, right? So because they do a couple of good things, does that make them good people? Or does that negate the bad things that they do? I really want to know, because let me ask you this. So an organization that does, a couple of, let's say, backpack giveaways, after school programs, but yet are scamming the money and using it fraudulently, right? Does that make them still a good organization? Does the good that they do in the community, the little good that they do, negate the bad that they do? Does that take over? Because that's what I don't understand, and that's why I believe that people really have the problem with this fight, and really understanding that it's right versus wrong, good versus evil. It's not red versus blue. It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's not progressive versus liberal or conservative. It ain't none of that. It's about right versus wrong. And we all know the difference between right and wrong. And here's the only thing of it is, we all read it differently. Just like with our judicial system, because there is two judicial systems and it sees people differently. I don't care what people say. You tell me that anything that I'm saying is wrong, because I'll tell you right now, I don't care how many black men can get up here and say, oh yeah, we work with police. And I will continually saying that there is no good police in a racist system until they start speaking up on their brothers that are out here committing wrongs, right? Because we still have that going on in Minnesota. But yet when you're an officer that speaks out about it, they get fired, right? Or they get seen as a snitch. The same way, that's why we don't have people doing things in the streets. When they see something wrong, they don't say something. They don't do anything. Because they don't want to be labeled. They don't want to be labeled for doing the right thing. They don't want to be labeled for doing the right thing because you'll be called a snitch. If you're not a part of the crime, how are you a snitch? That's why these baby killers don't begin turned in, right? We have so many unsolved homicides in Minneapolis and Minnesota, all for the simple fact because people don't want to be seen as a snitch. Even though they have no parts of the crime. They know who did it, but they're not a part of it. But yet if they say who did it, they'll be called a snitch. You're not snitching, homie. What if this is what I want people to think, right? What if that was your niece? What if that was your daughter? So you mean to tell me that you know who killed a child and you're not going to say anything, but what if that was your child? What would you do? If that was your child, what would you do? Would you put justice in your own hands? Or would you let the judicial system take over? Because we're not even putting justice in our own hands. Because these niggas out here still walking around like ain't shit changed. That's what's crazy. And yet they say Black Lives Matter. No, the only reason why y'all say Black Lives Matter is because saying Black Lives Matter brings in dollars. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. The only reason why they say Black Lives Matter. That's because it makes money. But you don't see them out here saying Black Lives Matter when little babies are being shot. You don't see them out here saying Black Lives Matter about to the education system. You don't see them saying that. No, because when it comes to that, unless it goes up against where they can make money, right? Unless they can make money, that's the only time. That's the only time that it matters. Because everything is about a hashtag. Everything is about money. That's why what's crazy is even with this lithogram, and I'm probably saying the name wrong, right? Of being seen, of getting stories out there. You got to mess with hashtags. You got to do this. You got to do that. And it's like, why should you have to do that to put a story out? To get people to see the injustices being wrong in our communities. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I wanted to talk about this. I don't know if you're still on here, Rev. I don't know if this is something you're going to talk about tonight. But I know just this week you were talking about St. Louis Park. Did you see what happened at the school yesterday? The videos that have been all over the internet that have been viral. St. Louis Park is about to be a trip. Because, yeah, that arrested a 41-year-old woman for fighting at a high school. And yet, definitely can't get mad at these kids when they parent. Hold on, let me see it. You know what? I'll get it. We'll watch it together. I don't think I bookmarked it. I think was it on Crime Watch? Yeah, it was on Crime Watch Minneapolis. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here go. It's the first one. Damn. Oh, yeah, I could share. All right. Let's share this tab instead. All right, y'all gonna want to see this because this shit was wild. So this part. Almost.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
Yeah. So high school canceled today. And I was going to talk about this. Yeah, this was one thing that I was. So you got the high school closed. The high school will be closed to students, families, and the public tomorrow, which is today. All of the activities are also canceled, including the girls' basketball game and high school athletic practices. Staff badge access. Staff must use their badge to access the building. All doors will be locked. Report to work at the regular time. Please wait for announcement from school admin about next steps for staff planning on Friday. Staff support. Who responded to the safety incidents today? We will have counselors available for you tomorrow and next week. Media will likely be at the high school tomorrow. Please do not talk with the media and instead direct them to our communications team. So yeah, that's literally what happened yesterday. Yeah, they were sent the videos of fights that were broken out at St. Louis Park High School on Thursday. At least 2 adults were arrested, and the district canceled classes for Friday. We're told the fights were racially motivated, and the school is investigating that angle also. Oh, damn, there's a lot of comments on this. So they sent the notice out. Black versus Somali. Wow. Anybody see the pattern? These used to be nice schools. Call the mayor. Baby killing Tina told me the mayor's got the answers. Plus, who the F was using a two-wheeler to move traffic cones? Yeah, that's literally what is going on. And people aren't calling that shit out. They're not calling that out because shit like that makes money, right? And now you're going to have the whole 2020, they were asking for SROs to get out of schools. And now you're about to see this legislative session that starts February 12th. You're literally going to see them right back up. SRO officers back in schools. Watch what I say. We literally have made it where they have fear-mongered us, where it was talking about 2020 was defund the police. Now they about to refund and give them bonuses. Watch what I say. They literally fear-mongered y'all. And that's why when people sit there and say, they talk about the Ferguson effect. And, you know, one thing that I really love about Marcus is when the crime started going up, he called that the George Floyd effect. Now, you look at any big incidents that have happened during time, especially since Rodney King, there's always been an uptick in violence in our communities. Anytime, I'm telling you right now, you go to Ferguson, you go to any big cities that literally had protests and riots and people were doing those type of things, how badly affected those communities were, especially when it came to crime, because there was an uptick. Because it makes money. Crime makes money. It's on both sides of it. Crime makes a lot of fucking money. On both sides of it, crime pays. If you're fighting it or if you're for it, it pays. It pays. It pays to be a criminal. It pays to be a police officer. Look at how much these snitches get paid. These people that, and I'm going to call them snitches because you shouldn't have had to be paid to do the right thing. If you're literally out here to literally just be around your buddies and collect information and then go to the police, yeah, that you're a snitch. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, come on now. But yet at the end of the day, what do you think our community leaders are being paid to do? They snitch on us. I've literally had community organizations in my paperwork. When I was literally camped out during the Derek Chauvin trial, a Mother's Love initiative was in my paperwork. Yeah, they took pictures. The little sicko Jamar, the little sicko. Yeah, so I don't want these people to sit there and that's what's wrong, is because of the good work they do, but we always forget about the bad things that they do, or the bad things that they cover up, right? Because everybody, oh, they do good work. So just fuck all the bad shit they do, or they continually do. But because they do a few good things, it's okay. I will never understand that. I will never understand that. I'm gonna get off here, man. I had a great this was a good show. I'm glad people are interacting. I'm glad people are educating themselves and seeing, because I want people to educate. I want people to be able to make a difference in their community. I want people to know how to be able to make a difference in their community. And the way that you do that is to educate yourself. Go read your city charter. Go read the ins and outs of that. See how you can make change in your community. See why the policing is the way that it is. See why the zoning is the way that it is in your community, right? Look up your city's history, because I'm telling you, you will find a lot. You will find a lot. But unless we're not educating, though, nobody wants to do that, because we should be so further ahead in life as Black Americans than we are, and we're not. And it's all because we listen to people that have sold out and to a system. And that's what's crazy, because and I'm going to leave off on this, is I remember talking to Jeremiah Ellison in Uptown during the Winston Smith days. And he said one thing that, as I said, it's crazy. I thought you and your dad were different. And he's like, man, when you get into this seat, it changes you. It changes you, because you can't do, you have your hands cuffed when you want to do the right thing, because not everybody agrees with you that's the correct thing to do, right? It probably is the right thing to do, but because there's business interest in there, and the people that fund their campaigns, the people that selected them, right, don't want them to think that that's the right thing to do. That's why Vital doesn't say shit over in Ward 4. That's why you had Ellison go to bat. That's why I don't know. I think they did change Vital's mind. I don't know how they did that. But Ellison went to bat for them to buy that liquor store. Literally got behind them. So that just shows you that what these people don't care about. They don't care about changing and reforming our communities and making them for the better, because that shit pays. That shit keeps them in office, right? So we push for peace and 21 days for peace and Mother's Love and L Flowers. It keeps them paid, because we're too scared to buck the system. We're too scared to fight back the system. So y'all have a great Friday. I will see y'all Monday, 9 o'clock Central in the morning. So win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well. Y'all have a great one.
Every day, fighting for my life. Every day, fighting for my life. Fighting for my life. Fighting for my bread. Grew from the seed you thought was rot. I think not. Fire bred desire to rise above denial. To rise from former ashes to face new trial. Trial or triumph. I am enough. Trial to triumph. I am enough.